Tried to think of something quippy for this intro. I got nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's because, well, it's just, it's okay. I didn't hate The Pope's Exorcist, but it wasn't anything new. Didn't feel like there was anything groundbreaking or super awe-inspiring or amazing or wonderful. I'm starting off with cons. It sounds like let me just backtrack a little bit and try to go over some things that I did like about this film, because there were some things that I liked about it, even though it's not the best movie I've ever seen, and whatever. Okay, a few things I liked about it. Something that I appreciated about this film is that there were portions of it that reminded me of the movie Pray for the Devil. And in Pray for the Devil, which I enjoyed, the reason that I mentioned Pray for the Devil is because there was something in there that I remember talking about in my review, and that was how I appreciated that they showed the church trying to rule out things like mental illness or in some other sort of health problem that might be causing these issues that make people think that a person is possessed. And so they touch on that exact same thing here. In fact, I think it's mentioned at some point specifically as well in here that most of the exorcisms that he's called on to perform, it's because that particular person, it's really because they have a mental illness. It's not because they're really possessed by a demon or whatever. And I think the number he threw out was like 98% of the time. It has nothing to do with being possessed or demons or anything like that. It's mental illness. So I appreciated that they showed us that perspective, that they portrayed this guy as someone who wasn't super eager to jump on the exorcism sort of bandwagon, and this person is acting strange, so they're possessed, that sort of thing. Basically, that he was trying to be responsible in the way he approached these situations. Now, the character that Russell Crowe plays in here is based on a true life Pope's Exorcist, or real life Pope's Exorcist. Gosh, I can't remember. His last name was Amorth, I think. And he was an Italian guy. And speaking of Italian, Russell did a really excellent job, in my opinion, with the accent, the dialect that he spoke with when he talked in English, and also his Italian. Now, I'm not Italian. I don't speak Italian, but he sounded very, very good to me. I don't know if he's bilingual or multilingual in any way. I want to say I don't think so, but whatever training he went through, whatever preparation he went through to play this part, he definitely did a really good job. I have really no complaints at all about Russell Crowe's acting in here. He was really good. In fact, I feel like it was his performance that is kind of, it's the backbone of this movie. It's what makes this movie, in my opinion, worth watching if you're a Russell Crowe fan, which I am. I like Russell Crowe. And that was he was the main reason that I went to watch this film. I went in not really expecting to like it a ton, was hoping it would be fairly solid and enjoyable, and it was enjoyable. There were some issues that I had with it that, prevent it from being something that I would like to return to again and again. But if you like this genre of film, like possession films, exorcism films, give it a go. You may enjoy it. There were a lot of things about this that I enjoyed, all the way up to the final showdown that happens, the final, the climax. That felt kind of meh. There's a lot of over-the-top stuff and very CGI heavy. This belongs in the con category, which I was going to try to wait to talk about until towards, the end, or after I've finished talking about the things I like. So let me kind of back up a little bit more. Something else that I appreciated about this was, well, Russell Crowe, the character he plays, like I said, real life person, his sense of humor, and he was funny. I mean, he would say funny things. I mean, that it actually kind of, made me chuckle a little bit. And apparently the real guy was like this. Russell mentioned that in an interview that he recently did with the Critical Drinker. I'm so jealous of Will. I'm so jealous. He landed an interview with Russell Crowe. Anyway, I digress. He talked about this guy that he played and his sense of humor. So when I went into this, I was expecting that, and he definitely carried that off. He even would do this thing that the guy would do, cuckoo, or something like that. I think I saw a video of the guy doing that, and so you can tell that Russell took some time to study this man. What else was that? So yeah, I was talking about sense of humor. Okay. Back to something else that I did like about the story. So I didn't talk about the synopsis. I'm going to assume that you guys have probably seen the trailer. If you haven't, the synopsis is this family. Well, they don't really go over the specific storyline too much in the trailers from what I can remember, unless there's a trailer that I missed. But the storyline is this family from America. It's a mother, her teenage daughter, and her son. Her husband / the kid's father has died like a year previous, and they have come to this, it's like an old abbey or something in Spain. They inherited it from the father. So they come there with the hope of fixing it up so they can sell it, go back to the States. And some stuff starts going on. So something was obviously awakened. So tying this back around to something that I appreciated, when they determined that the Pope's exorcist needs to come in on this, it kind of follows a storyline of a mystery. There is investigation that's going on. They're trying to figure out, what is this demon? Why has it been awakened? What happened here? And so it felt like a bit of a mystery story. And I like that part of it. I like the investigative stuff that they did here. So that was, whoop. Okay. All three dogs decided it wants to jump out of my lap. So I appreciated that aspect of the film. Something else that I thought was kind of interesting was how they addressed certain stuff about the church's history and bad things that the Catholic Church has done. And the way they addressed that, the little spin that they made on that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've seen that done before. And I feel a little bit cynical about that, but I also thought that was kind of a unique sort of take on sort of explaining or tackling bad behavior of the church in the past. And so that was something that I put in the pro category, because I don't think I've ever seen that done before. Maybe some people would feel like that's a con, but I didn't. I just thought it was kind of an interesting way to write it. Anyway, so there's that. A couple of things. Okay. At the end, there are no post-credit scenes, by the way, just to get that out of the way as well. There's funny text at the end, and I'm not going to mention it. It's certainly nothing worth watching the movie for just for that, but I thought it was kind of funny. It gave me a chuckle. It's, how they are wrapping up a story and they show like some text, exposition. The very last line of it I thought was kind of funny. And I feel like it was probably representative of Amonth's actual sense of humor. It seemed like it's probably something he would have said. Maybe he did. And so another thing was, so this is funny. I take notes in the theater on my phone. And even though the screen lights up when I'm typing, I'm still typing in the dark. And so I can't. Plus, I hate texting on my. I just hate it. I'd prefer to have a full keyboard underneath me, but I'm texting. I'm doing the best I can. I'm typing things wrong. Sometimes I can't decode what I've tried to write because I've hit the wrong letters. But what I wrote here was ending shit. And I'm looking at it like, What am I talking about? I didn't say that. And I realized what I meant to say was the ending shot. Okay, the ending shot. Something that I appreciated about the ending shot, which kind of ties back around to connecting Crow with Gladiator and the Colosseum. You've probably seen this shot in portions maybe shown in the trailer, but I thought that was kind of cool. I couldn't help but notice it. I mean, I don't know, maybe they didn't even think anything along those lines when they filmed that shot, but I couldn't help but go there in my brain. So that's like the pro territory. I'm going to delve a little bit into the cons, and I don't really have a ton to say about this film. While I enjoyed it enough to talk about it, or had cons enough to talk about it, it's not really sparking a huge amount of emotion in me like, let's say, John Wick 4 did. So con territory, like I touched on before, there was really nothing much new here, despite the mystery that was built into it and things that are discovered. It's something that feels like we've seen many times before in exorcism type movies, some better than others. I liked most of what I was watching. And here they're coming back in the room. They want to get back in my lap. Hold on a minute. I'm going to have to push this desk away. Now I have to check the camera. Okay, what was I saying before I got interrupted by Levi wanting to get back in my lap? Oh, I think I was saying that this is really nothing new. It's like many other Exorcist or, exorcism, demonic possession types of films we've seen before. I do remember I was saying some have done it better than others. I liked most of the film up until the final climax. It was very CGI heavy, and it was just getting I'm not the hugest fan of this genre, and some films that deal with this sort of thing I like more than other films. And so when the final showdown's happening and stuff's going on and people are in peril, it didn't spark a lot of emotion in me. And it wasn't that I didn't feel invested in the characters, especially the character that Russell Crowe plays. It's just that it doesn't really spark a lot of appreciation just because it feels so generic. I do appreciate that this was Russell Crowe's first horror movie, and I just kind of wish that maybe the writing had been a little bit better, especially towards the end with the final showdown. Things that were revealed in here, while I did appreciate the mystery aspect of it and stuff that they found out as the story went along, it just wasn't anything that really grabbed me. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's just because this genre isn't something that really grabs me to begin with. I will watch movies. In fact, I'm going to go see a movie tomorrow called Nefarious, which is about demonic possession. I haven't really... Oh, here comes the other dog. Oh, she got in the other chair. Okay. Oh, no. Hold on. I have to check the camera again. What was I saying? Oh, you guys are interrupting me. Breaking my train of thought. Shoot. Oh, I think I was just saying that because this is not really my favorite genre, it's just not really emotionally compelling and gripping to me. Now, The Exorcist, the movie The Exorcist, are you serious? They'll be back in here in about 5 minutes. They heard my husband cooking on the stove. So there's food going on, so they gotta go check it out. What was I saying? This is not my genre. It's not super emotionally compelling. There are some movies that can definitely be more gripping, like The Exorcist. This, unfortunately, just wasn't really one of those types. Also, there was something else that stood out to me. This is kind of like the last con that I'm going to mention, because I already talked about the ending battle didn't feel as fulfilling as what came before. I've already touched on how, I liked a lot leading up to that, but the final was just these fantastical CGI heavy and but there was an editing issue that I noticed right away, and I won't get into specifics, but there's a character who is in one place and then suddenly that whole situation has changed without letting us know that this has happened. And sometimes, yes, this will occur in movies, and obviously, your mind kind of fills in the pieces. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. In this case, I feel like it didn't work because all of a sudden this other thing was happening. And it was like, wait, what? What? You should have kind of shown from point A to point B and why this is happening and what's going on that is causing this particular scene to happen. Like I said, I won't get into specifics. I'm really not going to delve into spoilers here, but as far as the technical stuff and not counting the CGI stuff, there's just As far as the technical stuff, that was one thing that really jumped out at me as a kind of a mishap on their part. Like maybe they didn't carefully think about cuts that they were doing, and I'm going to assume that's the result of a cut. If it wasn't, then I don't know why they thought it would be a good flow to just have this jump here that happens without some sort of explanatory imagery showing us what was going on. Anyway, it was minor compared to just the overall. It was just something that I did notice to the point that I wrote it down. But those are my thoughts on the Pope's Exorcist. It's not the worst film I have ever watched by a long shot. It's definitely better than a movie like Moonfall, but it's just not weighty enough for me to appreciate it a ton. And I feel like probably most viewers are going to have very similar sentiments about it. It's unfortunate because I like Russell Crowe, and while I feel like he did a great job as far as his performance, the story wasn't solid enough to warrant glowing talk about it. And I don't have anything else to say. So I'm going to wrap this up. We'll see you guys later. Bye.